Is the carnivore diet a cult? Well, if it is, it's a cult I'm proud to be a member of. We'll talk about that a little bit today. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet and miscellaneous odds and ends. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. What you're watching is you're watching me walk. I know that doesn't seem super exciting, but if you consider just under 3 years ago I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for a couple minutes without severe pain, and now I'm out here walking every day. It gets just a little bit more interesting. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. It means a lot to me that you spend just a few moments of your day with me. I would like to ask everyone to help me out just a little bit. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Drop down in the comments and say hi, Bob. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. All these things help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 61 years old and I'm doing things I couldn't do when I was 40. Like out here walking every day. Hopefully that wind isn't making the microphone too bad. It's 9 o'clock in the morning in Omaha, Nebraska. And we've got a red flag warning for this afternoon, which means low humidity and high winds. And it is supposed to get up to almost 80 today. It's already 66, 67 degrees out here. It's a beautiful day. But I don't normally walk quite this early in the morning. But I wanted to get it in before the wind gets too bad. There, I think I sorry, the sun, I'm not used to walking this early in the morning, and because I'm going west, the sun is pretty much directly behind me. Sorry if it's messing up the camera view. But yeah, is carnivore diet a cult? Maybe. You know, there are many things that could be called a cult. And the reason other people call your thing a cult is because that's their last line of defense, because they have no more arguments to make against what you're doing. You know, there are many organizations over the years. Now, we've all heard of cult religions. You know, the most famous, of course, is the whole Jim Jones thing. But many of you are probably too young to remember who Jim Jones was and where the term drink the Kool-Aid came from. But there are other I'm almost at the top of that big hill. We're going to turn the corner and go around the big block today, because it is Friday. For those of you tuning in, expecting there to be a live stream today, remember that's been moved to Sundays at 5 p.m. Central. Yeah, the wind's already starting to pick up out here. I'm glad I got outside when I did. Bunch of squirrels out playing. It should be a pretty good day. But you know, there was a time a couple of thousand years ago that Christianity was called a cult. And now, I'm not saying everybody is a Christian, but I am saying it's considered fairly mainstream. So if you want to call carnivore a cult, that's okay. If you want to call it a fad diet, that's okay too. Just know that people that are calling us a cult diet or a fad diet or any of the other so-called derogatory terms, they're doing that because they've had all of their other arguments shut down. They have nothing left to attack us with. Did you see, I know Dave Mack just did a thing on this. Today is going to be kind of a mixed bag. But did you see the 60 Minutes Australia thing he was talking about? I watched just the first few minutes of it. The thing that struck me was right there in the opening segment where they were talking about what they were going to talk about. They listed off 5 or 6 things that they thought were ridiculous. Like, some pills, a coffee enema, carnivore diet, and they went on to list a few other things. That casual throwing in of the carnivore diet into the rest of their ridiculous claims, that's how they do it. They just assume that you're going to agree with them, and they don't even really talk about it. They just, there are people out there, not just on the other side of the eating aisle, because they're actually the good ones. I have found they are much more reasonable people than some of the so-called nutrition scientists that are going to live and die on the hill of calories in, calories out, which is, as we know, it doesn't work. It can't work because you can't track it. But anyway, that was my quick discussion on cults. The other topic I want to talk about real quick, Kip was talking about it just a little bit, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents in. He was talking about, a comment he got because he's restarting his exercise program, getting out for walks and doing that kind of stuff. And he got a comment that said, well, if you're doing a carnivore diet, you shouldn't have to exercise. Well, that's true to a point. But did our ancestors 2,000 years ago, or 3,000, or 10,000, or however far back you want to go, did they go to the gym? Did they go out for a walk just to go for a walk? No, of course not. What did they do? They went out for a hunt. They chased down animals. Sometimes they'd have to walk for miles to get to where the herds of animals were. They didn't have to intentionally exercise because they were getting all the exercise they needed in their daily life. We don't have to go out and hunt down furry critters to have our meal. And even if we were on the gatherer side, we don't have to go out and walk miles to find enough bushes to pull berries off of, to feed whoever's going to be eating the berries that day. You know, there was a lot of exercise built in to just surviving back in the day. And I have said many times on this channel that if all you're looking for is to lose fat, and that's what we're really talking about here. You know, weight has very little to do with it if you're doing everything right. What we're talking about is fat loss, muscle gain, body recomposition. But if all you're looking for is fat loss or weight loss, and remember, nobody ever said, my bones are too dense, they're weighing me down. I'd like to do something to make them a little less dense so they don't weigh quite so much. I don't care if if I'm going to fall and break a hip or an arm. I just don't want them to weigh as much. Nobody ever says that. So what we're actually talking about is fat loss. And if all you want is fat loss, then you do not have to exercise. In fact, if you're just getting started, like I started on May the 9th and didn't take that first walk till September the 1st. It was almost 4 months before I even felt like doing anything. Because, when I first started, I could barely stand up. But as our body starts to heal, we begin to want to get out and do movement. Because I believe our bodies are designed to be moved. They weren't meant to sit inside and binge Netflix all day or sit in front of a computer. They just weren't designed for that. And I think getting intentional movement in, because it's no longer built in to our cult lifestyle, we have to do it intentionally. It's hard to believe that just a week and a day ago, was it Thursday's video last week, I was out running the snowblower again? I think it was. So it was just a week ago I was struggling through that heavy snow. And now I'm just out here walking in the sunshine, wondering why I didn't wear shorts today. But that's, that's the way it goes. I saw a funny one that said, it's that time of year in Nebraska that as you look outside at the weather, whatever jacket you decide to take with you, you're going to be wrong. But yeah, very quickly getting back to the whole exercise thing. We've talked about functional movement before. It's one of Coach Bronson's big talking points. If our whole goal is to just lose fat so that we can feel a little better while we're sitting on the couch binging Netflix all day, then by all means, don't get out and do anything, because you don't need to. But if your why, which we talk about a lot on this channel, if your why is you want to get out and do a specific thing, then you should be doing some kind of intentional movement that builds you towards that thing that you want to do, regardless of what that thing is. In my case, I'm still working on getting up and down off the ground. I would still like to go camping, perhaps even through hike the Appalachian Trail one day, but for any of those dreams to happen, because camping in a tent requires you getting up and down off the ground several times a day, I need to continue doing my stretching exercises and my strengthening exercises and practicing getting up and down off the ground. I can do it now. My squat range is getting very, very close. I can squat down to where I can almost sit down on the ground, but not quite. And that last 5-6 inches that I'm missing is quite the jar when I just kind of fall over that last 5-6 inches. And then getting up, I still have to maneuver around and make sure I'm in exactly the right position to try and get up. So I got a little more work to do on that, but it's slowly getting there. That wind must be pushing some dust into my throat because I've had to clear my throat a few times today. But anyway, I have certainly rambled on enough. It's a beautiful sunny day. Right now I'm going to sit back and enjoy the rest of the walk. I'll have a few more thoughts when I get back up to the house. But for now, let's go ahead and cue the music. Cut the music. Now that you've stuck around this long, I'll tell you why I don't think Carnivore is actually a cult, the way I do it. There aren't very many carnivores that are actual cult leaders out there. There are a few that say, if you don't do it this way, then you never really were a carnivore and you're kicked out of the club. Same way the people on the other side of the aisle do. There are cult leaders in both spaces, but I don't believe I'm one of them, because there's not a day goes by in my comments that I don't remind people, because they'll say, well, I've added this and I feel better. And I always say, if what you're doing is working and you're getting the results you want, if it ain't broken, don't fix. Don't fix it. There's no reason to change if what you're doing is working. Now, if what you're doing stops working, perhaps it's time to look at some of the extras you've been doing. But and a cult won't let you do that. A cult will say, well, if you're eating anything other than grass-fed, grass-finished ribeye steaks, either raw or just lightly warmed up, and you're putting anything on them, and you're drinking anything but water, you're not really a carnivore. I don't do that. Dr. Barry doesn't do that. Most of the good influencers that I follow don't do that. They understand that everybody's a little bit different, and while carnivore is the basis for all of their diets, the reality is anything over 70% animal products is considered hypercarnivore. Now, does that mean that 30% of your diet can be donuts? I wouldn't recommend that, because if 30% of your diet is donuts, you're not going to get the benefits of the other 70%. But there is no one hard, fast rule for how you have to go about doing this. And that is the bottom line. So, while many people out there that just happen upon my channel and watch 30 seconds of one of my videos and make rude comments, that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. But I don't believe I'm a cult, and I don't believe most of the carnivore diet influencers are a cult. Hopefully some of what I said today made sense. Don't forget to get out there and get intentional movement in every single day and be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, and every day. Happy Friday, everyone. I'll see you in the next one.